Kodesh. We are in the first parak of Pirkei Avos in Mishnah Yud Beis, the second part of the Mishnah. So Hillel and Shammai kiblu mehem, and Hillel said 5 things. But the things that we learned last time were having mitalmidav shel Aaron, ohev shalom v'rodev shalom. And now we're getting to the second part of the Mishnah, which has 2 statements. Oheves habrios u'mukarvan leTorah. So literal translation means love the creations and bring them close to Torah. So we're going to ask a list of questions on this brief statement to try and get a deeper understanding as to what it's saying. The first question is, what is it adding to what it hasn't said until now? We've just said in the last section of the Mishnah, the same author, Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom. What is it now adding by saying Oheves Habrios? Isn't that automatically included in Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom? It should be included. That's question number 1. What is the Oheves Habrios coming to include? Question number 2 is, why does it use a seemingly derogatory word like Brios? Brios is a very generic, very broad word, which includes animals, includes basic people. It's not a person of ma'ala. It doesn't say Ohevet Achicha. It doesn't say Ohevet Re'echa. It doesn't say Ohevet Am Yisrael. It says Brios, which is seemingly quite a basic word. That's question number 2. Question number 3 is, what is the connection between the 2 parts? Oheves Habrios or Mekorvan LaTorah. Everything until now we're talking about love. Love Shalom, Rodev Shalom, Love es Habrios or Mekorvan LaTorah. What is the continuation? What is the connection between the stages of Oheves Habrios or Mekorvan LaTorah? And the final question is, seemingly this Mishnah contradicts the Mishnah and Mishnah Zayin. In Mishnah Zayin, Nitai ha'arbi'eli omer harchek mishachenra ve'al titchaber l'rasha. And here we're saying, yes, Oheves Habrios, whoever they are, or Mekorvan LaTorah, bring them close to Torah. Isn't there a danger here if you're coming to bring everyone close to Torah? You could be connecting even to people who are not connected. If you're going to medayik in the words, Oheves Habrios, Mekorvan LaTorah, so Oheves Habrios is before they're close to Torah. Meaning the only Mekorvan LaTorah comes afterwards. So when are you loving them? At a previous stage, Oheves Habrios, before they're close to Torah, Mekorvan LaTorah, even afterwards, meaning that when you're loving them, Oheves Habrios, that's even before they're a Torah personality. So how can you love them? You have to distance yourself from them. So that's the 4 questions. Number 1, what's the stage of Ohev adding here? We've already taught the love. Number 2, what's the derogatory word Brios? Number 3, what's the connection between the 2 parts? And number 4, how can you love them and connect to them? You're supposed to not connect to people who aren't yet your chaver in Torah. Those are the 4 questions we're going to address with these few parts. So we're going to go through them and see one basic yesod, which I saw pretty much everywhere, each time expressed in different ways. In the Rambam, in the Rabbeinu Yonah in one way, in the Ruach Chaim in a different way, in the Tiferet Yisrael in a different way, and then eventually with the Baal HaTanya, who's going to kind of tie it all together, who also speaks on this Mishnah, but we're going to see one theme. So we'll start off with the story. But this piece is still a continuation of learning from Aaron. So where do we see that Aaron HaKohen, he had this trait? So Aaron HaKohen, both the Rambam and the Rabbeinu Yonah bring it. They say the following. Aaron, Kashaya, I'm reading the Rambam now. Kashaya margish ba'adam shetochora. When Aaron would sense that there was someone who his inner world was evil. Aaron would sense someone who's not explicitly evil on the outside, but his inner world, the hidden world, is evil. Or maybe he wouldn't sense it naturally, but they would tell him, they would tell Aaron, so listen what Aaron would do. Now, someone who was a small individual would give them tochacha, would come and tell them off, would rebuke them, or at least distance yourself from them that you won't get affected. Aaron HaKohen does the polar opposite. He would start greeting him. And he would find himself loving him. And he would start schmoozing with him. He would just schmooze with him. What's on your mind? What's in your mind? What are you eating? Where are you going? What's the weather like? Saperimo. Now this person who suddenly finds himself this close friend of Aaron HaKohen was very embarrassed, and he would say, Oili. This is all a quote from Tana de Be Nassan, but it's quoted from in the Rambam. If Aaron would know what was in my inner world, if he would know the evil thoughts that I have and what I get up to, he wouldn't even look at me. As it says, you're not allowed to look at the face of a Rasha. He definitely wouldn't speak to me. But now what am I going to do now? Now Aaron thinks I'm a tzaddik. So then he said, if Aaron thinks I'm a tzaddik, then by him I have a chazaka. I have a chazaka that I'm a kosher individual. So I'm going to have to live up to that. And then the person would contemplate that matter and he would do tshuva. And that was Aaron HaKohen's way of bringing them back to Hashem. Rabbeinu Yonah says it slightly differently, but the same concept. He says, Ani muchzak be'einav ka'adam kasher u'ba'al mitzvos. I'm held in Aaron HaKohen's eyes as someone who's kosher and someone who does mitzvahs, even though I know within my inner world that I'm a Rasha. And he would regret within his thoughts, and he would do tshuva. So we're talking here specifically, Aaron HaKohen's story is someone who externally is not doing Averas, but he views himself as a Rasha, maybe based on facts. He views himself as a Rasha. Right now, no one has ever viewed him differently. He has no other way of viewing himself other than the way he's viewed himself until now. So he's stuck. He's stuck in this mindset of being someone who's a Rasha. How's he ever going to get out of it? If he has someone who comes to him who's known to be a tzaddik, and that person believes in him, has faith in him, and views him in a different way, in a different light, then he says, well, if he views me in that light, then maybe I have that in me. Someone else sees me that way. Maybe I have the potential to be that. And he would do tshuva and he would come back. So Aaron HaKohen, that was the koach that he had to see within the person this point. Now I'm asking a question which is going to help us develop it more. Was Aaron HaKohen doing it as a trick, or was it something authentic? Meaning, did Aaron HaKohen do a degree in psychology and know that even if the person isn't very good, it doesn't matter. You can just pretend as if they're good. And you say, oh, you're great, you're amazing, let's be friends. And then the person says, oh, he thinks I'm good. I'm not really, but he thinks I am. Is that a trick that Aaron HaKohen is doing? Would that work if you would do that? So here we're going to answer question number one. What's the difference between Ohev Shalom v'Rodev Shalom, which is the first part, and Oheves Abrios? Right? When the Tana of our Mishnah, Hillel, when he learned out from that story, he didn't say, he didn't say, make up as if you love them. That's not what he said. He said, Ohevet Abriot. You must love them. So how did he know that from the story? So here's the difference between the first part and the second part. If we would just read the first part, Ohev Shalom v'Rodev Shalom, and that's all within your inner world. You must love the trait of peace. You must choose peace and chase after peace. But does that mean that you authentically love someone else? Or no, you're just looking for peace. And since you're looking for peace, then you just need someone else. Like they say, he's my chefza shel mitzvah. I need to do peace. I need to love people. Okay, well, you come over here. Grab him. Okay, you, I love you. Do you hear me? I fulfilled the mitzvah. I love you. And the guy says, I don't feel that. I feel that you're using me. You're abusing me for your relationship with Hashem. Aaron HaKohen wasn't doing a trick. Aaron HaKohen wasn't doing psychology, where he was saying, oh, pretend as if I love him. And then Hillel, when he learns out from that story, he learns out, Oheves Abrios, authentically, genuinely love them. So point number one, we're answering question number one is, why does it first say Oheves Shalom v'Rodev Shalom and then add an additional point, Oheves Abrios? Because it's an additional point. If you would just love Shalom, then you might love the trait of peace within yourself, but it's like your mitzvah. But that doesn't mean you authentically love the other person. That's not going to work. That's not going to bring them back to Hashem. So therefore he says, authentically Oheves Abrios. Now here, this similar idea in the Tiferes Yisrael. And this idea is so beautiful that when I was writing up my notes on this, after I wrote up the Tiferes Yisrael, I wrote beautiful in bold letters. I was so excited by it. This is a must read for every mechanech and every melamed and every parent. This must, if you ever think of the topic of chinuch, This is your first source. This must be your first source. This is the Tiferes Yisrael. It's on the page if you have the Bar Tanura and the here, I'll show you. You have over here the three Meforshim. You have the Bar Tanura and the Tosos Yom Tov, and then underneath you have the Tiferes Yisrael, which is divided into the Yachin and the Boaz. On this particular mission, it's only the Yachin. And he writes beautifully this concept. I'm going to read it word for word because every word is a gem. He says, regarding your obligation towards your students, and now we're answering question 2. Why does it use the word brios? Why brios? Why doesn't it say chaver, re'ah, amit? All the words that Torah usually uses. Because we're coming to teach here that you don't only choose someone who you happen to bond to and then you choose to love them. You happen to be from the same hometown. Oh, we have something in common. I love you. Or you like the way that person thinks. You've got a good mind on you. I love you. Or you have, this person has a wealthy father. I love, whatever it is. There's no reasons here. Nothing. Why do you love them? Brios. They're like an animal. Kivyachol. Meaning they have nothing going for them. They have no reason why you should love them other than the fact that they are a Jew. So that's the first point he says. When it comes to your, and that's to answer our question number 2. So let's read it inside. When it comes to your obligation of your students, even those students who are not worthy of being called a student because of their great minds, barak brios yachshavu. They're just like a bria. They're just a creation of Hashem, but they haven't developed themselves in any way. Teitiv lahem begufaniot. Benefit them, give them in physical, give them food, give them shelter, take care of them, over ruchnius, and inspire them with spirituality. And when you need to then rebuke them, because a real Rebbe is not someone who just says, do whatever you want, do whatever you want. A real parent isn't someone who's so permissive they don't have care for their child to give them guidelines of what's healthy for them. When you need to give them guidance, tachus al kavodam, take care for their honor. Lo bezaf, never speak to them with anger. V'lo v'katzaf, kiim divrei ratzui b'chein v'chesed. Rather speak to them in a pleasant way, with grace, with kindness. Ka'av rachaman lebanav, a Rebbe should see his students like a father sees. Actually, just to point out, I heard this from Rav Asher Weiss. When does the Torah teach us to teach your students? It says, V'shinamtem levanecha. Why does it say banecha? Ein banecha ele talmidecha. So why doesn't it say talmidecha? So says Rav Asher Weiss, it doesn't say talmidecha to teach you that you should relate to your talmidim as if they're your banim. The same way as you would relate to a child. That's why the word the Torah uses for a student is a ben. Ki rak al yedei zeh tekarvam leTorah. And now we're answering question 4. Question 3. What is the connection between this part and the next part? They're inherently connected. There is no way you as a Rebbe, you as a parent, you as a friend will be able to bring your charge close to Hashem if you're coming and doing it with a command. If you're coming and doing it from a place of upset, of tochacha, there is no chance. Because the way they relate to the Torah is the emotion that you give it over with. You could not say something more important than that phrase. The way that they will connect to Hashem is not the words that you use when you teach them. It's the emotion that you have towards them when you're giving the Torah over to them. You could say a basic svara, something which doesn't even have much reason. But you say that to them with a love for Hashem and with a love for them, they will be in love with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and they'll follow the path of Hashem. You could say the most resounding logic in the world of why they should do the will of Hashem. But you say with, you see why you have to do it, you hear why, you hear the svara, you klutz. And then they will say, no, thank you. It makes sense, but I don't feel any connection to it. And those are the words of the Tiferes Yisrael. Ki rak al yedei zeh tekarvam leTorah. Only through this method will you be able to bring them close to Torah. De'ein adam shomea atzat son'o. If your child sees you, if your Talmud sees you as his enemy, if he sees his Rebbe as a baddie, if he sees his father as someone he has to get out of, punished from, If he sees you as an enemy, he is not going to hear a word you say, even if he knows it's true. Even if he hears that it's logical, he's not going to want to listen. Rak atzat ohavo. But if he hears that you love him, he'll be willing to absorb your words. So we've answered all three questions. Question number one, why does it say the phrase, Oheves abrios, it's extra? The answer is because you have to genuinely, authentically love them. Don't do a show. Why does it say brios? Because even if they have no merit going for them, that justifies why you should love them. You love them because they were put under your charge. And therefore, that you are the connection between them and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you love them just because they're a Jew and just because they're a Bria of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the only way you can get to the next stage of U'mekarvan LaTorah. There's a beautiful Alshich on Mishlei who says, Al tochach leitz, which the pshat of the pasuk is, you shouldn't rebuke someone who's sarcastic or cynical because he won't take it. But the Alshich reads it differently, almost Hasidish. He reads it, Al tochach, and call him a leitz. Don't rebuke him by saying to him, you are a leitz, because then you will give him the chazaka of being a leitz. In the same way as Aaron Cohen saw the goodness in the person and brought it out. He saw the true, authentic goodness that person had, and he brought that goodness out. So too says the Alshich, don't find the nukuda which is bad in the person and call him out on it, because then you will give him a chazaka. You give him a chazaka. If you say someone has something which they don't have, they'll know it's not true. If you say to someone who's clearly got brown eyes, you have blue eyes, they won't have this, oh my gosh, wait, let me go check in the mirror, what color eyes do I have? They know. But if you call someone out who has a multifaceted personality, they have a nakuda of good, they have a nakuda of bad, and you call them out on it, they will align themselves with that part. Aaron Cohen authentically found the good in them, and he called them out on it. He says, I see that you're good. And they said, you know what, Taka? I have that in me. And he developed that side. He gave them a chazaka of being that. If it wasn't there, Aaron Cohen wouldn't have been able to do it. But because it was authentic, he found that he called them out on it. They built that side. The same is true the opposite. If you go up to a friend and you point out and you call them out on some negativity they have, then it's true they have it. But why are you strengthening it? Why are you calling them out on it and saying, you have this? And they go, yeah, you're right, Taka, I have it. Call them out on the good they have and build that good. Okay, now let's hear the words along the same theme of the Ruach Chaim. Beautiful words of the Ruach Chaim along the same theme. The Ruach Chaim says, let's say you see two people fighting. You have two friends who are fighting, and you want to stop them fighting. So what do? So says the Ruach Chaim along the same theme of what we've been speaking about. Says the Ruach Chaim, well, if you go up to them and you say to the one guy, you know what? He has a point there. Like, there's a part of what you're saying which is not true. Like, you should hear his side. Then says the Ruach Chaim, not only will you not bring him to peace, but you will get another enemy. Because he will say, what have you got to do with it? Why are you fighting with me? You're calling him out on his negativity. You'll make another enemy. But says the Ruach Chaim, and I'll read you his words inside, how do you cause peace between people? This is the Nefesh Chaim Ruach Chaim. He says, this is what you should say. Hey, Nemet, it's true what you're saying. Atazakai, you have a part of you which has truth. And your friend sinned against you. Im kol zeh, but together with all of that, you can still be the one to chase peace. But he says the Ruach Chaim an amazing thing. You have a misconception. Someone sinned against me, so they have to make up with me. Who says it has to go that way? It could be that he sinned against you, but you could still make up because our goal here is peace. So, but that's not going to work if you come and you start attacking him and accusing him. It says the Ruach Chaim, you go up to each side and you say to each side, you know what, it could be you're right. And he sinned against you, but so what? Why should you continue the friction? Why should you continue the machlokes? You're right, he's wrong, you make peace. Just because he's the bad person here doesn't mean you have to continue the negativity. Ki kol ish yashar be'einav. Every person always justifies himself. And his friend is always the one who did bad. And therefore he makes up a rule which is not necessarily true. He makes up a principle that because my friend is bad, He has to come to me and make peace with me. Says the Ruach Hayim, that's the pshat in the pasuk. Bakei shalom v'rod fehu. What's bakei shalom? Yihye retzoncha sheyeh shalom beinehem. If you want there to be peace between two people, rod fehu. You have to teach them that even if they're not the one who's bad, they have to chase after it. A beautiful interpretation. But the premise of his whole interpretation is that you shouldn't go after someone and go against his will and say, you've got a nukuda which is bad by you. You should point out the good part, emphasize the good part, the good in him. Now this is a principle, but it's got a lot more depth to it. And I just want to take this, we've said the basic idea, but I want to take it a lot deeper. We've just said that within a person there's good points and bad points, and whichever part you draw on, that's what you'll bring out in there. But we've also said that if you draw out the negative point, it's going to cause machlokes, and if you draw on the positive point, then it's going to cause achdus. And therefore, Aaron HaKohen, he would go up to people and find their good points, and he would create an achdus. And the Nefesh HaChaim, the Ruach HaChaim, was pointing out that if you call out where the friction is, you call out the negative points, that's going to cause friction. So hear this point very deeply. Hashem's name is Shalom. Hashem's name is peace. There's two worlds that exist. There's a world of Achdus, a world of Shalom, and there's a world of Perud, a world of division. I'm going to give you an example. Where do we find an example, one from ancient history and one from modern history, where there was Achdus, but it led to negativity? Ancient history is Migdal Bavel. Migdal Bavel is the only time in entire Jewish history ever that all the people of the world agreed on one thing. Until then, Cain veHevel, there was machlokes. After then, they had different languages and the people were spread out. The only time ever in Jewish history where there was the whole world agreeing to one thing was Dor HaFlaga, the people who built the Tower of Babel. Now, that's a good thing. That's Achdus, that's Shalom. The fact they join together with Achdus, that's positive. That's a Maila. That can cause you to go together. But where are you going with that Achdus? If you're using the Achdus to go and build a connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then it's using a positive Maila, and you will see that it will bring you close to Hashem. That's the only way to come close to Hashem. Because Hashem is the ultimate Achdus. Hashem is where everything is united all together. So when you use Achdus for positivity, when you use joining ideas of people together in order to come close to Hashem, that will be a long-lasting closeness. And therefore, in the Dor HaFlaga, where they used a good trait, they used Achdus, they used Shalom, that was a good thing. But they used it for something negative. Hashem divided them up and put them in the world of Perut. As opposed to Anshe Sdom, who they were arguing in between them, Hashem absolutely destroyed them. Because when there's division, and it's not for Hashem, that's both negative things, there's no room for that in Hashem's world. I just want to make it very, very clear. There's two factors we're working with. Factor number one is Achdus. Factor number two is towards Hashem or away from Hashem. If you have both together, that's the absolute shleimus. You have Achdus for the sake of Hashem. And that's what our Mishnah is teaching. Oheves Abrios, that's the Achdus. Umakavan Torah, that's the ultimate. Let's look, when you have neither was Stom. Stom, they were fighting amongst them, and they were divided from Hashem. There's no room for that in Hashem's world at all. Therefore, the whole of Stom was turned over. What happens if you have Achdus, but it's not for the sake of Hashem? What happens then? Then the world continues to exist, but it won't lead to anything productive that will cause division. That was ancient history. Where did it happen in modern history? Communism. Communism was the same exact idea. It was the goal of everyone being united, everyone being together, one nation, one language, one purpose, one goal. But it wasn't for the sake of Hashem. It was based on atheism. There wasn't one good day in the entire communist regime. Not one good day. From the beginning, it was already undermined with traitors and people telling on other people and people stealing the money and taking it for themselves. Not one good day. Meaning you have there the two qualities. The one of Achdus is a positive thing, but the other one wasn't there. It wasn't for the sake of Hashem. And therefore, here's the secret. HaKadosh Baruch Hu designed the world, which you will only able to survive long term if you have two factors working together. You have an achdus, you love other people and you're working together. It could be you disagree with their philosophy, but you respect them and you relate to them well, and then you have a harmony and a unity, and it's for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to come close to Hashem. If you have those two factors together, then you will succeed. And that's the depth behind this Mishnah. Oheves abrios umekarvan leTorah. The only time you'll be successful in your relationship of love with Hashem, again, if you remember the Maharal, the first Mishnah of the Nasi is always the one of coming close to Hashem, love of Hashem. The only way you'll have a love of Hashem is if you have both those two factors together, the Achdus, and you have the coming close towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oheves abrios umekarvan leTorah. And to answer our final question, surely it said earlier on that Al titchaber l'rasha, you shouldn't connect to a rasha. So I'll say the following idea. I saw different interpretations. The one I was thinking of was, think of Aaron HaKohen and think of the Ruach Chaim that we just discussed. When you look at a person, what do you see? What do you see there? There are some people who, when they look at a person, they notice all the negativity. They notice, he's a rasha. Look, he did this wrong, he did this wrong, he did that wrong. Aaron HaKohen saw someone who everyone knew was bad. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say, if you hear both Meforshim, listen to both Meforshim. How do they say that Aaron knew he was bad? Number one reason was, in the Rambam, one second. Number one reason was, Keshaya margish ba'adam shetoch ora. Not that he saw something bad, but he felt that that person had an inner bad core, probably from the way the person was feeling about himself. Or shayu misaprim lo. Or because other people told Aaron HaKohen that person's bad. Did Aaron see it? Did he believe it? No. He went straight for the good. So if you see the person as bad, and you notice the bad in them, and when you look at them, you're drawing out that bad, Al titchaber l'rasha, because you're going to be influenced by that bad, because that's what you see there. You see them as someone who has bad to them. You see them as a rasha. Stay far away. It will be dangerous for you to connect to them. However, if you're like Aaron HaKohen, you're not fooling yourself. You know they have elements in them which are negative. People told you, or you can sense that's how they're feeling, but you don't even pay attention to that. Tahor einayim, it says about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you will also tahor einayim. You only look with tahara. You only look with the purity, with the goodness. If that's how you see, go ahead and connect to them, because you won't be influenced bad by them. You'll be bringing out the good from them. You'll be influencing them, inspiring them. That's the depth behind the Mishnah. Oheves abrios umekarvan leTorah. Have a good night.